Hello there, everybody. I am here in Berkeley, and so is Mr. Sargon of Akkad, which it's rather surprising to me, I suppose. But we're here because Free Speech Week is supposed to start Monday. I believe it's Monday, right?
I think so. Yeah.
There's going to be a press conference today. By the time you watch this video, the press conference will have already happened, so you'll probably know more than we do. But the general idea that I'm being told is the event is kind of been thrown for a loop. They're still going to move forward with it. Some of the speakers aren't coming, but Free Speech Week will be happening. Not only that, but UC Berkeley and the city of Berkeley said they're going to be operating security as though all of the speakers are attending. That being said, Sargon is here, which I think it's interesting because a lot of the speakers are considered, right-wing. Milo Yiannopoulos or Cernovich, for instance. Yep. What are you doing here?
I'm representing the left wing. I thought I'd come out and represent. I also wanted to. I wanted to take part. I wanted to be part of Free Speech Week, get a bit of my own experience with Antifa, see if I could convince any of them to have a conversation with me.
Or if they just hate you.
Then I'll punch them back. I'm not a journalist, so I don't have to worry about not, getting fired for punching a member of Antifa.
Yeah. Well, you're your own boss.
Yeah, exactly.
So here's a question I have, Milo. Yes. You're from the UK.
Yes.
You guys have free speech there?
Not really.
Because someone told me that
call it free speech. No.
So here's what someone told me. I don't know if it's true. I'm not British, so I don't know a lot about your laws. But they said that the UK only actually codified free speech with the EU making them do it.
I think the thing with Britain is we have an unwritten constitution. So most of our constitution is brought together through various bits of legislation and political writing throughout because England as a state is over 1,000 years old.
Yeah.
So these things have all just kind of accrued over time, and there's more like the spirit of the thing that is important in the perception and the public perception and the way the society as a whole tends to react to certain things. Unfortunately, the spirit of the thing at the moment has been completely overruled by hate speech laws, which and honestly, America do not ever accept a hate speech law. It is the thin end of the wedge, and it will never stop. It will keep going. There are hundreds of people a year who get sent to jail for Twitter posts and Facebook posts.
There's that, Count Dankula, is that his name?
Yeah, he's on trial for a joke about, his pug becoming a Nazi. And it's ridiculous. It's openly ridiculous. There is just no way anyone could suggest that he was trying to, persuade people to be Nazis. And even if he was, so what? He should be free to do that. I disagree with him if he did, but he should be free to do it.
Personally, I feel like when it comes to activism, when it comes to people who are saying, trying to recruit Nazis, is you counter that with better ideas.
Yes,
and honestly, I don't think it's hard to do.
No, and this is the thing. The problem that they have, and this happens all the time, is for the left anyway, is they want to suppress the very idea of these ideas being spoken. And so, look, all you're doing there is shrinking the public square. This is a reduction of the Overton window of acceptable dialogue. But these people don't go away. And they don't stop using the internet, they don't stop talking to people. So these ideas are being spread without anyone giving them any pushback on any of it. And so you end up getting to the point where, you get the alt-right, basically.
Yeah.
You're convinced that white people are being exterminated, despite the fact that there are more white people alive now than ever before. It's just counter to the facts. The thing is, if someone had intercepted this at the beginning, because they're against mass immigration, and there are lots of good reasons to be against mass immigration, lots of them, and very few of them are racial, but because no one's wanted to talk to them about these issues, no one's wanted to address any of this. Now they've got a fully formed coherent ideology where effectively the neo-Nazi types, the hardcore white identitarians, the people who go on about the Jews and about Hitler and wave the swastikas and stuff. I was actually speaking to a member of the alt-right about this. Why are these people even given any credibility? Because most of the alt-right aren't Nazis. Most of them are white identitarians. They're like the White Lives Matter to the Black Lives Matter. Right. But they're not Nazis. They don't want a state-controlled economy. They don't want they don't think of Aryan heritage or anything like that. But some of them do. But these people came essentially into the alt-right with a fully formed group of ideas on, you know, the Jewish conspiracy and the white genocide and all this, and so they just propagated this. They just spewed this out, and there was no one to counteract that, because no one had thought about it. No one had ever challenged them on these ideas. No one had taken any time to deconstruct their ideological positions. And now the alt-right is effectively this giant white supremacist, anti-Jewish hate group.
You know,
and I don't really like describing them that way, because the left says that about literally everyone. And so when I say it, I feel like I'm being hyperbolic, but not really. You know.
Well, the way I see it is there are people who are on the left, Black Lives Matter, who believe in like white supremacy and white privilege.
Yes.
And then there are people in the alt-right who believe that, you know, they're white identitarians and they believe in Jewish privilege.
Yes, they do.
And it's one of the arguments I made before, that you can take any one of these like political action groups, these activists like Occupy Wall Street, Black Lives Matter, feminism, and you replace their villain, the 1%, the Jews, white patriarchy, white hetero, what is it? White cis hetero. You know, patriarchy or whatever.
The white supremacist capitalist patriarchy.
Exactly, capitalism. You replace that buzzword, and it works. You could literally say the same thing, like, blank causes all of the world's wars.
Yeah.
Blank is conspiring amongst their own community to do X, Y, and Z, you know.
It would be nice if it was that easy, wouldn't it? Oh, it's just this group that's the problem. Oh, well, that solves all our problems, because then we don't have to think about it very hard.
Have you seen Wonder Woman?
I haven't, actually.
There
were only female-only screenings, and I wasn't allowed in.
Oh, yeah. Spoiler alert right now. I don't know if it's going to bother anybody, but I really like this one part where, you know, Wonder Woman is convinced that if she just kills Ares, the god of war, all war stops. Oh, yeah. And Chris Pine is like, no, it doesn't. We're all bad. There's no villains. There's no heroes. Like, sometimes people are just bad.
This is, actually, this is something I've been thinking about a lot, and that I'm going to address at Mythicist, is the left's idea that it's a religious concept that it can scapegoat. I mean, the point of a scapegoat is that you put the sins of the community on the goat, sent it out to the desert, and the community would remain pure. That is the left right now. They think that they can just say that's right wing. I mean, like, I was watching a David Pakman video where he was talking about socialism, and broadly it was correct. He was actually surprisingly accurate on point with it, until he declared that Stalin was right wing. And yeah, exactly. And that was the point at which that's the scapegoat. That's, oh no, anything bad is on the right, everything good is on the left, and that's the way it is. And it's like, okay, I mean, if you take that approach to anything, then that makes your opponents entirely bad and you entirely good. And so what's the reason that you don't just go to war with these people?
So wait, is that actually where the word scapegoat came from? They would put the goat to the desert?
It's Jewish, from the Bible.
Wow.
That's they you know, do a ritual to put the sins of the goat, sins of the community on the goat, and then send it out into the desert to die.
All right, so let's loop this back into why we're in Berkeley. Free Speech Week.
Yes, free speech. It's important and it's necessary. And even if people are saying things you don't like, then you still have an obligation to let them speak, because words are not violence. And this is the foundational principle of liberalism, is that it's okay. Every man is entitled to his own thoughts and feelings and opinions, and to express them without being censored or without being persecuted or oppressed.
And woman.
Well, I meant human. I've been reading John Stuart Mill's On Liberty recently, just as a refresher for all of this, and he makes great points about how social tyranny is actually probably worse than government tyranny, because it infects every aspect of your life, and it goes right down to the you know, the basics of going into a shop. For example, if Andrew Anglin, like, he can't get web hosting anywhere, it's like that's persecution. You know, I don't have any support or love for his political positions, but there's no denying that the man is being persecuted. I mean, like, we're going to take away your domain hosting. Why? Well, you said something we didn't like. You called Heather, was it Heather Hare?
Heather Hare.
Yeah. You called her a fat lesbian commie or something, and so we're going to take away your domain hosting. It's like, okay, but that's a scary principle, because tomorrow I might say something that, you know, isn't necessarily offensive in the same way he did, but you just disagree with it, and boom, that's it.
You know, I think what's scarier, this is something I've been talking about a little bit, so if you guys are watching my videos, there's a video called Rap News 6. Mm-hmm. Juice Rap News, I think their stuff is really great. They made a bunch of these commentary videos where, you know, this guy raps, and in this one video they make fun of Hillary Clinton.
Good.
They call her Secret Terry. They have Alex Jones screaming that, you know, they're trying to bring in the commie Nazi fascist one world government, things like that.
Yeah.
The reason I bring this up is that there's a lot of ideas in that video that, here, what I tweeted was, It's anti-war,
Mm-hmm.
pro-free speech, pro-WikiLeaks. It's not a Trump supporter video.
Mm-hmm.
It's a leftist video from 7 years ago.
Yes.
So the idea loops back into what you're talking about is, let's say today you say something that everyone agrees with. In 3 years, someone will dig up that tweet and say, oh, look what he said.
Oh,
And then start seizing everything from you. And, you know, times change and opinions change. And to me, what's scary is with like Andrew Anglin is that there's like unwritten laws now.
Yeah.
He's done nothing illegal.
Nope.
It doesn't matter. He loses all rights to society.
Yeah. And this is exactly what John Stuart Mill was talking about. It's far more oppressive than a government taking something away from you. The government isn't omniscient. It's not all present. It's only when the government's eye is on you that you are being persecuted. But if you are a societal outcast, then it's everywhere. Because everyone in society shares the cultural value that you are the problem. This is what it must have been like to be, black in the South. Everyone around you, they're going to look at you and go, right, you're again. And so now, and that's Andrew Anglin is the new again. And I hate to say it, but it's true. And I don't like anyone being the again. So
He's gonna keep.
I'm going to keep saying it.
Oh, you're gonna get me in trouble.
I know. You can bleep it if you want.
I might. I don't know. I think I have to.
It's okay.
Because I've gotten in trouble for just just one swear word before.
Yeah, you can
But,
bleep it. I don't know.
but it's stupid because everyone's gonna know what you're saying.
I know.
But
That's why why it's
personally, I'll give you some kickback because while I personally believe that there is social ramifications, even with Angel Anglin, I still don't think it's as bad as it was with racism.
Of course not. Of course not. But because Andrew Anglin isn't obviously different. If he walks by, you can't tell that he isn't, unless you know. He
can put a wig on and go live his life with no problems.
But
change his name.
It's the same principle. That's the thing. It's to a different level of severity, of course, but it's the same principle, and I don't like that principle that someone can just be ostracized from society for reasons.
Right.
No, I disagree. Everyone is part of society, and we have to deal with it whether we like it or not. And that is the liberal principle of tolerance, rather than the left at the moment, which is entirely illiberal.
Yeah, I guess what's crazy to me is that, I did some interviews with people out in Berkeley last week when I was here for the Ben Shapiro, a couple weeks ago, whenever the Ben Shapiro thing was last week, and they refuse to denounce oppression when it's coming from their side.
Oh yeah.
They say they oppose injustice, but there was one guy. He's wearing a communist bandana, sunglasses, mask.
Of course he was.
He's got a table set up for communism, and I asked him straight up if, say, someone from Antifa attacked an innocent bystander, assuming they were a Nazi or something, and they were wrong, is that oppression? And he said, yes. I said, is that injustice? He's like, yes, of course. He's like, I don't agree with that. That's terrible. And I was like, I shook his hand and I said, look, man, if you believe in communism and you want to flyer and you believe all this stuff, I can disagree with you, but
sure.
you have all my respect to do so. And if you're willing to call it injustice from any oppressor, I was like, I'll shake your hand.
Yeah,
he was like, cool, right on, man, appreciate it. I'm like, wow, why is it so hard?
But those people are the minority these days. It's genuine, and if they're not the minority, they need to start speaking up. But the thing is, this is another problem the left has. It never polices its own. It never does this. I mean, another thing about this Mythicist conference, I've seen Thomas Smith, the guy who I'm interviewing. He's concerned. I mean, he's like, oh, well, you said these offensive things. So, okay, but why don't you care when your side says things that are considered offensive to, say, the right wing? Like, if we're policing offence, well, the alt-right are really offended when you call them whatever. Why don't you care about that? You don't care about offence. You care about when it's it's okay when we do it.
It's tribalism.
Exactly. It's not fair. And if you can't be fair, then.
But to be real, I think when it comes to tribalism, nobody polices their own.
Well, some people do, but it's not. I mean, it's easier not to, and the problem is partisanship. I think which is just the essence of tribalism, isn't it? But like, it's just difficult to get people to admit that there are problems with their own side.
I've known this ever since I was little. To grow and improve, you have to admit your faults.
Yes.
And that includes the groups you're involved in. What I say is, look, if you call out the bad actors in your group, it only makes your group stronger.
Yes.
Anyway, so let's
actually, just to loop that round back to scapegoating. That's why scapegoating happens, because it's like, no, we put all of the sins of our side on that side, so we don't have to, and it's all down to personal responsibility, and that's the problem with scapegoating, is you're not taking responsibility for things you've done. You can't grow as a person, you can't improve, you don't become stronger and more robust.
Yep. So let's bring this all the way back to on the ground in Berkeley.
Yes.
Last question: What do you think is going to happen? It's going to be outside. I mean, you followed a bit of the Antifa stuff, so I think
a lot of it. Yeah.
Right. So,
well, it depends if they turn up or not. It's entirely possible that, well, I mean, if security is good, Ben Shapiro's talk a few weeks back showed that they're not going to do anything. If the security is actually willing to step in, and, you know, police don't want to let communists riot in the streets, smashing things up and hurting people. They don't want that to happen. They were being restrained, as I'm sure everyone is aware. But thankfully, the events of the revelation that Antifa are being treated as a terrorist group by the government have kick-started a sort of understanding that, yes, okay, maybe violent communists rampaging through the streets isn't acceptable, even if they're left-wing. You know, maybe. And so the Berkeley mayor, you know, said, well, they should be called a criminal gang. It's like, well, I mean, that's the least we can call them, but it at least gives everyone a moral reason to demand the police step in and do something. And when they do, 4 people got arrested, or 9 people, whatever it is, got arrested. Nothing happened. You know,
yeah.
And it's just, well, you know, if you show a firm hand, then they will back off.
And I'll add to this: at least one of the people that I saw arrested and was charged with assault, I did not see this person do a damn thing.
Really?
Somebody was getting a sign confiscated from them, and this woman like tried running up to them, and the cops just grabbed her and said assault. Right. And I was like, they were not screwing around.
Yeah,
you know, I honestly, I could be wrong about why the person was arrested. Maybe they did something I didn't see. But if the police are arresting someone simply to be heavy-handed, that worries me.
Well, it's not something I agree with, and it's not something I would endorse. But I can understand after watching, and this has been happening for over a year. Yes. You know, and I can only imagine as a cop, you think, you know, you join the force and think, I want to protect and serve, blah blah blah, and then you're told to just stand there as a bunch of angry kids run around smashing stuff up. You'd be like, oh my god, you know.
But the it's, you know, the wedge you were talking about.
I agree.
It's two-sided.
I agree. I completely agree. I'm like I said, I don't endorse it, but I can understand it. But yeah, if the cops are prepared to do their jobs, then Antifa will be no problem. If they don't, then I guess we'll see what happens.
All right, man. Thanks for hanging out and talking, as always. I think this is like the 3rd or 4th video that I've done with Sargon. Because he's here, so I figured it'd be great to talk, you know. If you guys like the video, click the like button, comment below, let me know what you think. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Timcast. If you want to support my work, make sure you go to timcast.com/donate. Give whatever you'd like, give nothing at all. My videos are always free and available every day at 4 p.m. Stay tuned, because I'm here in Berkeley, and Free Speech Week is happening in some form, and I will be live streaming any breaking news as it happens. So hopefully nothing happens.
Wish us luck.
Yeah. All right. I'll see you then.